Check this tool out. Can you guess what this does? Well, believe it or not, this is Unior's version of a chain whip. And as you can see, it locks onto a cassette to hold it in place to loosen the lock ring. This chain whip is part of Unior's Pro Tool Wrap, one of 7 bike repair toolkits we'll be looking at today. We'll be rating each of these toolkits on the carrying case, the wrenches, the quality, the value, and the J factor, which I'll explain in a moment. And at the end of this video, we'll find out which one ranked the highest and which one was my personal favorite. First up, the starter bench toolkit from Pedros. This comes in a nice little plastic box, and that's the first thing we're gonna be rating, the carrying case. 0 to 4, 0 is egregious, 4 is exceptional. Boxes are kind of cool. When your toolkit comes in a box, you have extra space to put things if you expand it. And as you can see, they include a little tray here. And so you can put little bike parts in it. You can leave some of your tools in it. It's very usable. Only thing is, this box is extremely cheap. It's made of very thin, flimsy plastic. Even the clasp over here is flimsy plastic. It's about the bare minimum. And so I'm gonna rate it a 2. Now, 2 is not bad, 2 is average. Remember, 0 is egregious, 4 is exceptional. This is right in the middle. It's kind of what you would expect. Next, we're gonna review the heart of the toolkit, wrenches. Every bike toolkit's gonna have to have wrenches. Hex wrenches, Torx wrenches, pedal wrenches, spoke wrenches. What does it have here? The hex wrenches are all in a multi-tool. I never like that when I get a kit because you bought a bike toolkit so that you could have real wrenches, right? But this happens to be a pretty nice multi-tool. It's nice and large, has plenty of leverage, appears to be missing a 2mm. They do give you a Phillips head screwdriver and a flathead screwdriver, which is nice to have. And they give you an 8mm adapter. That's important for many pedals. Torx wrenches they do include. These are nice, long, dedicated Torx wrenches. They don't appear to have smaller sizes like 15s. Spoke wrenches they include on this little chain tool, and you can see they give you a nice pedal wrench with an adapter here for your cassette lock ring wrench. The quality is very good, but I think I'd want dedicated wrenches in a toolkit, and so I'm gonna give this also a 2, average. Next up, tool quality. This little tiny chain tool, it's like what you would find in a multi-tool, and we have a dedicated toolkit here. But in terms of the actual quality, every one of these tools you're gonna have for the rest of your life. You're gonna buy it once and you're never gonna buy it again. You might even pass it down to your kids. They don't stick, they have a great fit and finish. Everything just moves smoothly. And so in tool quality, this definitely gets an exceptional rating of 4. And then there's value. What are you actually getting for your money? This is a $170 toolkit. I've seen it for $130 in a lot of places. I think that's a much better price because you're really not getting a whole lot. Now, there are a few very substantial tools here. For example, this cable housing cutter is probably not cheap. This chain whip, which is locking, is pretty nice. The best tire levers ever made in the history of the world. And you have other substantial tools like this pedal wrench here. But other than that, they really don't give you a whole lot. They give you kind of a flimsy toolbox and then a multi-tool for the wrenches. Yes, the quality is really good, but I'm gonna have to give it a 2 on value, average. I think it's a fair price to charge for these really good tools, but it doesn't blow me away. Finally, we have the J factor. It's the joy factor. How much joy do you get out of using these tools? After all, do you want to get a toolkit that makes you frustrated every time you use it? Or do you want a toolkit that makes you happy? We have to consider things like wrenches in a multi-tool every time you take out your toolkit. But a lot of these tools I actually would get a lot of joy out of using. And so again, I'm gonna give it a 2, average. I'm gonna be pretty happy to use this toolkit. There's no dud in the entire thing. They're all good. And so the Pedros starter bench toolkit gets a rating of 12. We'll see how it stacks up against the other contenders. Next up, the SK4 Home Mechanic Starter Kit from Park Tool. SK stands for Starter Kit. Like we did before, we're gonna start with the carrying case, and as you can see, the SK4 comes in a toolbox, just like Pedro's did. Only this toolbox is very different. First of all, it's got a metal latch on the front, it's got metal pins back here. The plastic is much more substantial. This is just in a completely different league in terms of quality. Now, if we go inside, you can see you also get a tray, but again, much more substantial. It actually has a plastic handle here. It's not nearly as flexible, and it can actually hold a lot more stuff. But you can see they also include these compartments at the top. There are these little sections in here that you can put cable crimps or ferrules, and that's really, really useful when this might be your only toolbox. This is a starter kit. So the carrying case, I give a 3. That means it's above average. It would have to do something extraordinary for me to give it an exceptional rating, but 3 is very, very good. It's better than what you're gonna find in most toolkits. Now for the wrenches, and as you can see, the much maligned multi-tool. Why include that in a toolkit that somebody's getting for their bike? Like the Pedros one, this though is very good quality. It's made of good materials, and actually it's more complete. These are all hex wrenches in here. They also give you a dedicated 8mm wrench with a ball end. That's a very nice touch. And for Torx wrenches, they give you a 3-way tool, a very nice 3-way tool, just like the one I have on the wall over here. These are all the sizes you're gonna need for most things. But what are we gonna do if we need a screwdriver? They actually give you a dedicated one, a very nice dedicated screwdriver. Now, that's not the only wrench it has. You see here, there is a pedal wrench, which is combined with a chain whip. As for spoke wrenches, they give you a dedicated one here. You can see it has 3 sizes. It's not built into some other tool. They look like pretty good ones, and so that's a plus. Now, there is a glaring omission here. They give you a cassette lock ring tool over here, and then there's no way to turn it. So you would have to use one of your own wrenches, let's say an adjustable wrench, and I guess Park Tool just assumes you have one of those, which, let's face it, you probably do. So what do we rate the wrenches? There's a lot of really good stuff here. It's relatively complete. Clearly you get a lot more than the Pedros kit, but it's also clearly not exceptional. I'm gonna have to give it a rating of 3 above average, and it barely makes it there. We don't even have dedicated hex wrenches, but what we do have here is very good. Next, we're gonna rate the quality of the tools. Like the Pedros kit, I'm not completely blown away by everything here. Not the biggest fan of this style of tire lever. It'd be nice if there were some dedicated wrenches, but we're talking about quality. And in terms of the quality of the tools here, it's hard not to give it a 4, exceptional. These are professional grade. You're gonna have them your entire life. You're gonna pass them down to your kids. Case closed, it gets a 4. In value, they'll have to answer for some of these glaring omissions. So now let's talk value. This is a $200 kit, and I actually don't see that many deals on it. You do get a little bit more than you do with that Pedros kit, but you're paying more. Box is really cool, for sure, but it's still a plastic box. There's still definitely some missing things here. I just can't give it any higher than average. It gets a 2. So now for the J factor. How much joy are you gonna get using this toolkit? As I said, the tools are very good quality. This cable cutter would bring me joy every single time I used it. This tray is very nice, and like I said, the toolbox is very nice, but it's not quite enough to bump it up to above average. And so I'm gonna have to give it an average rating of 2 for J factor. And now if we add up all of these scores, the Park Tool kit's gonna get a 14 out of 20. Yeah, to me, it's just too frustrating to use a multi-tool every time you're using hex wrenches. Next up, Ozark Trail toolkit. Carrying case gets a 1. Why does it get an automatic 1? Well, blow molded cases just suck. They suck terribly. The only reason to use one is cost. Now you can make some other arguments like shock absorption, but these are metal tools. It's cost. As you can see, the tools are everywhere. They kind of are supposed to push into these little spots here in the case, but they get worn out and the tools start falling out. There's no room for expansion. It's nice that there's a spot for every tool, and so you can keep track of whether you lost anything or not. That might be good for a beginner. But other than that, you're really not gonna get many advantages out of a blow molded case. It's worse than average. It gets a 1. Now for the wrenches, and here is kind of a mixed bag. I actually have a lot of trouble trying to figure out what to rate this. Yes, comes with a multi-tool here, and you got your Phillips, you got your flathead, you have a bunch of hexes. You don't get a 2mm, you don't get a 1.5mm. We're definitely missing some important wrenches. We're also missing Torx. There's just no Torx wrenches in this kit whatsoever. And so if you have a T25 in your bike, you're gonna be out of luck here. Now they did include some things that the other kits didn't. For example, you have this little bottom bracket wrench. We actually do have a way of turning the cassette tool. See, they give you this little dedicated 8mm, very nice. Then you have this adapter, and you can turn your cassette lock ring tool. Nice touch. And you get this little Holotech wrench, so you can turn the lock ring on a lock-on rotor or even a bottom bracket. And then they give you some cone wrenches here. These are not the greatest. I've had cone wrenches like this in the past, and oftentimes they wear out and stop working. They give you one little crummy screwdriver here, which is better than nothing. Does it get a 1 below average just because of the quality here? I mean, you're getting a lot of good stuff. I have to give this a full 2. So even though we're missing the Torx wrenches, which should bump it down to a below average, depending on the type of bike you have, like if you have a bike from Walmart, you actually have a lot of wrenches here that you would need, like these cone wrenches, and then you're not really gonna need the Torx wrenches. And so I think they did good for the market. Next, we're gonna rate the quality of the tools. Now, as you'll find out in a moment, this is very cheap, but they're not egregious. We've reviewed egregious tools that don't work. You just can't work on a bike with them. For cheap tools, these are pretty consistent. And so I'm gonna give it a 1. It's below average. If you look at all of these, they suck. They're not gonna last your entire life. The tip of this screwdriver is definitely gonna wear out. These are gonna start to get all worn out here and no longer turn bolts. This stuff is gonna scratch up your bike, but that's okay if you have an inexpensive bike or you're only gonna use a toolkit every once in a while. There's not anything here that doesn't work. It just all works the minimum that something should. Now we'll rate the value of this kit. What are you getting for the money? It's $30 and look at everything you're getting. None of it is egregious. It's all okay or below average, which is fine. If you want to get into bike repair and hit the ground running, you're going to get a lot of things that you need. You're going to be able to do a whole load of repairs. And if you're weighing it against the bike shop, you're going to save a lot of money. And so it's an exceptional value. Now for the J factor. How much joy am I gonna get every time I take out my blow molded Ozark Trail toolkit? Well, I love working on bicycles. That brings me joy, and this will allow you to do that. So it can't get a rating of egregious. Tools are fine. You know, they do the job. Sometimes you have to mess with them to get them to work properly. I'm just gonna dread putting them away. It's not gonna get a better rating than 1. And so the Ozark Trail toolkit gets a 9 out of 20. Really not bad for a $30 kit where everything's as cheap as possible. I think they did a pretty good job with this, honestly. What really bumped up the score here was value. You're just not gonna get better value than this. And usually when something's a really, really, really good value, you give up some other things. The Prepbox by Topeak. It's actually not that heavy, but this thing is quite substantial. It is a big box with lots of stuff in it, and the box itself is very nice, and so let's rate that first. Now, if I'm being honest, they kind of went overboard here. I mean, nothing rattles around. You could just throw this into the trunk of your car, your van, anything. They even give you kind of a layout of where all the tools are supposed to go. And then on the other side here, there's a screen that keeps any of the tools from falling out. Then you can see it has kind of the same disadvantage of a blow molded case. Everything is rigidly put into place, but it's done much, much nicer. This stuff comes in and out really easy. There's spaces for you to put your fingers. The disadvantage to this is you really don't have any space to put anything extra should you expand your toolkit. Yes, you could probably stick like, you know, another tool underneath here and zip it up. They do give you a little leeway in that regard, but not much. The box has got to get a 3. This has got to be above average. It's going to last a long time. You're not going to lose anything. I feel a little queasy about giving it a 3, to be honest, but I'm sticking with it because the quality is just that good. Now we're gonna rate the wrenches, and spoiler alert, I really like what I see here. If it was just this set of hex wrenches and this set of Torx wrenches, it would probably get a 4. I mean, look, they all have ball ends. They're super long. Look at this 8mm over here. I mean, that's what you want to use to crack a pedal loose. This is really, really nice. And if you're installing bottle cages, you're gonna want a wrench that has these ball ends on it. Not only do the wrenches have a lot of leverage and are they of good quality, but there are also individual holders for each one. These holders appear to have a little hook in the shape of the Topeak logo, so you can hang them up on something when you're working on your bike. And they take it like 9 steps further here. You have a full-size breaker bar, cassette lock ring tool, a beautiful Holotech adapter here for your bottom brackets or lock rings on rotors. But they don't stop there. There's actually a torque wrench. Not only that, but you get redundancy. Many of the sizes that we have here in the hex wrenches, you also have here in the torque wrench. And so you have 2 sets of those tools. You also get a nice big dedicated pedal wrench, not bad. And a bit driver here with some different options. I mean, they give you everything you need and some. It's just such an easy 4. I wish I could rate it a 5 or a 6, but it's exceptional. So now we're gonna talk about tool quality. This is a nice, big, substantial chain tool. I mean, it's one of the best chain tools we've seen in any kit so far. Plenty of leverage. Definitely what I'd want to be using if I bought a dedicated bike toolkit. There are also some not so exceptional tools. This housing cutter over here doesn't move that smoothly. It feels kind of chintzy. I would just want something better considering Pedros and Park Tool both have exceptional housing cutters. But that being said, most everything here is really, really good. And so I'm gonna have to give this a 4. This gets a rating of exceptional. These are all professional grade. You're gonna have these for a long time. You're gonna pass them down to your kids. Yes, there are a couple of things in the kit like this torque wrench that might not stand the test of time, but as far as I'm concerned, those are bonus items. So what do we rate this on value? This is $420. As you notice, the prices on these toolkits are kind of all over the map. I tried to choose them based on what was the most popular from each manufacturer and kind of ended up with a hodgepodge. And so I still think these ratings are objective because when you're considering value, you're considering what are you getting for the money? And I think here, again, it's average. For $420, I would expect that all the tools are really good. I would expect that we have a really complete set. I would expect that we're getting what we paid for. The breaker bar was such a nice touch. I mean, if you're trying to crack something loose, this is gonna make it so that you don't completely break your fist. Having this bit driver here with a few different options was really nice. And then having the torque wrench to me is just a huge plus that we're not seeing in a lot of these kits. And so it gets a 3, just barely for value. So above average value. Now, what does it get for the J factor? How much joy would I get using this kit? It has everything I want. It has these big, long, nice wrenches, but I wouldn't quite give it a 4 because although this is a really good quality box, there's nothing really that special about it. It's just really good quality. It's just really nice. And you have to put everything back in its place. That's kind of frustrating to me. There's not anything particularly interesting here. It's just solidly above average. I would really enjoy using these. And so I'm gonna give it a 3, and that brings our total to 17 out of 20. That's an extraordinarily high rating. Good job, Topeak. Next up, the Unior Pro Tool Wrap. Spoiler alert, tool wraps are my favorite. It happens to be a really good tool wrap. As you can see, there's this little flap here that stops stuff from falling out this way. You fold it down, you roll it up, and then there's some Velcro here and you have a handle. It's very compact. You can just throw it in the trunk of your car. You can throw it in a backpack. It's not gonna rattle around. And the best thing about a tool wrap is as you add more tools, the burrito just gets girthier. And so you can see they thought of that and they actually left a lot of additional space in here. There are additional pockets, there are little pouches over here. There even is a little clear area over here. You could expand this and use it. Also on this tool wrap, they added some eyelets on the flap. So presumably you can hang it up on something. That's kind of a nice touch. So it's well made, it provides a lot of benefits, it's really useful. For some reason, it doesn't meet my standards for exceptional, but it's definitely above average. This is an awesome container to keep tools in. Now we rate the wrenches, and as you can see, dedicated hex wrenches with ball ends and plenty of leverage, every bit as much as the Topeak wrenches. These are really, really good, and the finish is excellent. And then the smallest T25 I've ever seen. I could see injuring myself trying to crack loose a brake rotor bolt. This is not good at all. As for the other wrenches, you get a little tiny Phillips head screwdriver, nice little spoke wrenches, and then you have a really nice handle with a 1/2-inch driver on it, so you can put your cassette lock ring tool on it and crack it loose. Now, the wrenches are really, really good, but it's hard for me to say they're above average when so many of the other kits offer a bigger variety of wrenches, more Torx wrenches. This is just not a whole lot. Now, it's worth noting, they market this kit like that. You know what you're getting before you buy it, and it's priced as such, but just seems like an odd combination of wrenches for a bike repair kit. So it's gonna get a 2 on wrenches, even though the wrenches it does have are kind of above average. Now for tool quality, that's pretty easy. I mean, there's not a single dud in here. Look at this chain tool. So many of the other ones give you a chain tool that looks like it belongs in a multi-tool. This is a beautiful, dedicated chain tool. Really, really nice. The tire levers look pretty nice. I've never used Unior tire levers, and so I can't speak to their effectiveness. The wrenches are just beautiful. I mean, some might complain that they're not T-handle or something, but these are great wrenches. They're gonna last you your entire life. It gets an easy 4, in my opinion. Even the wrap itself, which we're not rating, is really good quality. Not a surprise from a company that makes professional grade bike tools. So what are we gonna rate this on value? It's $200. I think a lot of that cost is the tool wrap because you're really not getting a whole lot of tools, but it's important to understand who this kit is for. You can see there's a rotor truing tool, there is a chain wear checker, and then a whole bunch of things that are kind of missing. But it's expandable and it has things that might happen at a race. And so they call this the Unior Pro Tool Wrap for that reason, I think. I think it's made as a starter kit for somebody who's kind of doing stuff out in the field. I still have to rate it a 1 on value. Yes, you're getting top quality tools. You're getting this really cool chain whip that I showed you earlier in the video. You're getting amazing wrenches. And you are getting a bunch of stuff that's gonna be useful, including this amazingly well thought out tool wrap, which might make up a significant amount of its cost. But I would recommend almost anything else in terms of value, but I still kind of really like it. I really, really like this kit because of that wrap. So now our J score. What's the J factor? How much joy do I get using this kit? I'd say it easily gets a 3, above average. All the tools are amazingly good quality. They have great leverage. There's not a single tool in here that I wouldn't like using. There are a few things missing and can't give it an exceptional rating because of that. So the Unior Pro Tool Wrap gets a 13. That's pretty good. There are a lot of considerations in a toolkit. That raised an important question. What do I think you should be getting with a tool wrap or a toolkit? Well, I'll show you mine. This is my toolkit that I built or assembled, whatever you want to call it. I like tool wraps, and so I tried a bunch of tool wraps and I chose this one because it has a lot of good features. Let me show you what's inside of it. We might as well rate it, right? So we'll start with the tool container, which is my tool wrap. There are these little buckles here. And then it unrolls. And you can see it's rather large. I keep this under the back seat of my pickup truck so that I have everything I need to repair bicycles. There's a zippered pouch over here so I can keep supplies and things in it, like chain lube and connectors and zip ties. And then you have a whole bunch of little pockets to keep tools. Now, it's not perfect. This thing is cheap. The quality is not the greatest. I definitely had to tear some things off of it and make some modifications. And so I'd probably give it a 2 for average. Functionally, it's really, really good, but quality-wise, it's eh. And now that everything's laid out here, we can rate the wrenches. I chose the wrenches I wanted in here, and they're not my best wrenches. They're the wrenches that I want to leave under the seat of my pickup truck. I have a nice little set of dedicated hex wrenches, not the most leverage in the world. Chain whip with a pedal wrench over here. I have some cone wrenches from Boy, and I have some other stuff like this adjustable wrench. I have these feedback Nipex style pliers, which are really good. And I have an AliExpress bottom bracket tool with a whole bunch of different sizes on it. So I have a whole bunch of cheap, okay wrenches, but it's a really complete set. I have everything here I would need, even Torx. I have a whole set of Park Tool Torx wrenches here. I'm gonna give my own set of wrenches a 3. It's above average. Yeah, the quality is kind of a mixed bag, but you really have a complete set and you have everything. So now we'll rate the quality of the tools that are in my tool wrap. Really good tools in here. I mean, this is a Crank Brothers kind of mini floor pump. This is a RockShox digital shock pump. And then we also have some really cheap AliExpress stuff that I've kind of judged to be okay to use. It's a really mixed bag, ranging from the far reaches in either direction. And so I would say it's a 2, average tool quality. So what do we rate it on value? I'm not gonna go back and add up every single one of these tools, but very likely it would end up being the most expensive toolkit here. You're also getting the most in it. And because I sort of mixed and matched really good tools with tools that didn't have to be expensive, I think the value is actually quite good on this. I'm gonna give it a 3 because it probably isn't the most expensive by a whole lot, and it would do the most to help you fix a bike. It's a really good value to me, and that's why I assembled it and use it. So what's the J factor? How much joy do I get out of this kit? Well, I would put it at a 3 for above average. I love tool rolls. I like most of these tools. I get more joy out of using this than I would most kits, but it's not like exceptional level joy. And so my Pingong tool wrap gets a 14. Not bad for something that I slapped together. Maybe someday I'll really design a toolkit and see what I come up with. This next one has appeared in a few different videos already. We've had it, we've been testing it. The Feedback Sports Team Edition toolkit. So let's rate the container. As you can see, it's a soft case. There's a zipper over here, and then it opens up to reveal all the tools. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of a tool wrap. So there is a pretty good amount of space in here, definitely a spot for each tool, and they even give you some additional pockets right over here, but nothing that significantly usable. Now, I suppose you could throw some additional tools and things into here and then close it up and it would zip up just fine. And so it does get some bonus points for having a little bit of extra space. The fact that it's a soft case is kind of an advantage because you can just throw it around. It's not gonna rattle. None of the tools are gonna come out. It can also fit in a lot of different places. I don't think this toolkit takes up any more space than it has to. There's also another trick. As I showed in those other videos, you can hang this from your work stand. This is really, really nice if you're out in the field. Now you don't have to reach onto the ground for your tools. You don't have to worry about whether you have a workbench or a table. It's just there. This is a really good container. It's really innovative. I'm gonna give it a 3. This little magic wand guy that holds it open, I already broke it by sort of pulling on this too hard, and I had to take it apart and put it back together. And so it's a little ways away from being exceptional, but close. Now we'll rate the wrenches, and you can see here there's a variety of wrenches. In terms of hex, we don't just have a normal set of dedicated hex wrenches. They've actually given us a 6mm with a nice rubber handle and a ball end, an 8mm with the same features, and then a series of 3-way tools, which are really, really nice. 3-way tools provide plenty of leverage. You can switch between tools really easily. You also have dedicated screwdrivers, Phillips head screwdriver, flat screwdriver. This one even has a Shimano preload tool for cranksets. You got your Holotech, you got your cassette tool right over here, plenty of leverage. Then you have your pedal wrenches over here, and you have a nice little 15mm wrench for axle nuts. They even give you a Schrader and Presta valve core wrench. Very nice little spoke wrenches. I kind of like having dedicated hex wrenches. You're forced to use them in the 3-way tools, which is kind of annoying in certain situations, but I still have to give it a 4 for exceptional. They gave you nice big wrenches with lots of leverage. They gave you everything you need, nothing you don't. It's really complete. So let's talk about tool quality. As is the case with all the kits, there are a few tools that I'm not completely crazy about. I don't really like these rubber handles, how they get dirty and really worn out quickly, and it just seems like over time, they're gonna start to get all nicked and haggard looking. But it's exceptional. Feedback makes professional grade tools, and these are definitely professional grade. I wouldn't really expect anything less. So what's the value on this kit? Well, it costs $350. On rare occasions, I've seen it available for a little bit less. And I kind of have to give it a 3. It just barely gets a 3. So between the innovative carrying case, the good quality tools, the completeness of it, and all the little bells and whistles, you're really getting a lot for your money. It's better than a fair deal. So what's the J score on this? How much joy do I get out of using this? I got the chance to use this several times, and some of my friends have used it, and we like it. The fact that it mounts to the repair stand is a huge plus. Everything's just good quality. It's fun. I'm gonna put it at above average, so it gets a J factor of 3. So that brings the total score for the Feedback Sports Team Edition Toolkit to 17 out of 20. It's done really, really well. It's gonna be one of our top contenders, but we got one more. So this last kit, found on Amazon, and you can see it's in a blow molded case. Not egregious, but still a blow molded case. It gets a 1. So why am I so hard on blow molded cases? After all, this is a lot nicer than the Ozark Trail toolkit. It's got metal latches over here. It's a little more substantial. It's got a nicer finish. It's even got a logo with some color on it. Even a good quality blow molded case is still a blow molded case. There's nothing good about them. They're frustrating to use. That's my opinion. And so yeah, the case gets a 1. So let's rate the wrenches, and wow, there is a lot here, and it's a mixed bag. Let's start with the hex wrenches. Fairly complete set of hex wrenches with ball ends, and they're dedicated. Leverage-wise, these aren't the greatest. Topeak and Unior and pretty much everyone's given us more leverage than this. They do give you a dedicated 8mm wrench, nicely covered in rubber. I mean, this looks like it's pretty good quality. And then they give you your Torx wrenches. The T25 is not as small and puny as the Unior one, and they give you a duplicate of all of those bits with a torque wrench. It looks like one of those flexible plastic torque wrenches, and it is, but there are actually a lot of materials here. There's metal over here, there's a little metal pin, it's magnetic inside of here. It's actually nicer than it needs to be. Wait till you see the bottom bracket tool. So first of all, Hollowtech 2 over here, nice big wrench with lots of leverage and a good handle. They have 2 different sizes, and then they have inserts. So you have 4 different bottom bracket wrench sizes right here. Big ups on that. And then here, some box wrenches. Here, you have a 10mm over here, 9mm, 8mm. We got a pedal wrench with 2 different angles and a 15 for axle nuts in there. Very nice. A sweet little spoke wrench with little rubber handles on it. This is nicer than it needed to be. You even have cone wrenches here. You have everything. This is above average for wrenches. You're really getting a very complete set with a relatively good experience. So now, what do we rate the Cyclist kit for tool quality? Honestly, there's not a dud in here. Nothing in here is egregious. Nothing in here is exceptional, but a lot of it is above average. Some of these are nicer than they even have to be. Now, there are a few things in here that I'm not crazy about. The cable housing cutter, you have to like physically push it out, but it cuts fairly well and it is spring loaded. And these hex wrenches are okay, but never would you consider them exceptional or even above average. The Master Link pliers, they're super smooth. They're nicer than any Master Link pliers in any of these kits. These are exceptional. I'm tempted to give it an above average rating, but then there's stuff like this little plastic handled screwdriver that just kind of pressure fits. You definitely have some stuff that you can just bend in half. And so I'm gonna give it a 2 for average. That's a really good rating for a toolkit that you would just get off of Amazon. That's sort of a no-name brand. So what's the J factor? How much joy would I get out of using these tools? In the case of most of them, not that much. A lot of these tools provide really good leverage. They have good handles that feel nice. They look relatively capable. I would say it would get a higher than average rating, except it's got this blow molded case, which sucks. And the tools are pretty ordinary, and so I'm gonna give it a rating of 2 for average. So what do we rate the Cyclist toolkit for value? Well, I found this on Amazon for $99, and when I saw the pictures, I suspected it might be better quality than the run-of-the-mill Amazon stuff, and it was. It's way better quality than that. I give it a 4. 99 bucks, and you're getting everything you need to fix your bike. This is giving you as much as some of the really big toolkits, the big expensive ones, the $300 and $400 ones. You're getting it all here, and no, you're not getting amazing tools in every regard, but you're getting very usable stuff. It's about as good as value gets. So each toolkit we looked at today had its pros and cons, and all these manufacturers make additional toolkits. So going by what we just saw today, who got the highest rating? It was actually a tie. Contender number 1 was Feedback Sports with their Team Edition toolkit. It got a 17, and also with a 17 rating, Topeak, the Prepbox. This thing had a lot of tools. This thing had a lot of tools. This was $350, this was $450. I think big, expensive toolkits tend to do well with my rating system. Some of it's a little bit subjective, but I do think these are both really good toolkits. So now I will give you an honorable mention, and I will tell you which one was my favorite. Honorable mention, Unior. This toolkit did not do very well in terms of value, but it did pretty well in other categories, and the wrap is just fantastic. They're not the cheapest, but they're really, really good. Well, actually, they put one mediocre tool in there. It's a little tiny Torx wrench, but nothing else in here is mediocre. Good job. And so which is my favorite? So I was gonna give it to my toolkit, the one that I assembled in this Pingong tool roll-up, but that's kind of a cop-out. You wanted me to tell you which one of these was my favorite, in which case I have to give it to Feedback. And the thing that really pushes it over the edge is the fact that all these are really good for field repairs. It fits under the seat of a car, it fits in a seat back pocket, and the fact that this mounts to a portable repair stand and just kind of keeps everything together in this soft case is really nice. And so thanks for joining me today, checking out all these toolkits. I hope you learned something, and if you didn't, I hope you at least found this video entertaining. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.